أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم Assalamu alaikum dear students. I do hope that all of you and your loved ones would be doing fine and you would be enjoying, all of you would be enjoying great health. So in our today's lecture we would continue with the remaining part of the Cuban Missile Crisis. And in today's lecture we will talk about the various options Kennedy administration had to tackle with the Cuban Missile Crisis. In our previous lecture we talked about the Bay of Pigs and the fiasco of pigs and the mongoose, incident of mongoose, which couldn't pay the Americans off in the way as they expected. So the situation got worse and the world was threatened with the nuclear catastrophe at that time. So before we talk about the resolution of the crisis, it is imperative for us to talk about the various options which the Kennedy administration had at that time. So today we will talk about those options which Kennedy administration had and which option has been eventually employed by the Kennedy and what were the impacts of that option taken by the Kennedy administration to deal with this Cuban Missile Crisis. So before getting into the discussion about various options which Kennedy administration had, I would like to talk about the dominant perceptions about Kennedy within and outside the American circles at that time. As the youngest president ever elected to the office, many Americans questioned his leadership skills. In the meeting with Khrushchev in Geneva in 1961, Kennedy seemed a bit nervous, intimidated and weak. So many concerns were being shown in the Americans about his leadership skills at that time. And eventually, after the embarrassment which they faced after the fiasco of Bay of Pigs and mongoose incident and the construction of Berlin Wall by Khrushchev, Kennedy appeared to be losing his grip on the affairs. Kennedy was apparently losing his popularity in not only in the world affairs but in the American public as well. So it was quite sad and unfortunate that Kennedy was assassinated in November of 1963 during a visit to Dallas. So now we will move to the discussions of Kennedy's options. But before talking about the options, I would like to discuss over here the immediates even before getting into these options. And we already have discussed this development in our previous lecture, but I think it's imperative for us here to have a brief overview of that, so that we can understand the options taken by the Kennedy administration. So by August of 1962, the first rumors of Soviet missiles in Cuba and from emigre reports and CIA leaks appeared in the US press. Soviet diplomats, unaware of the project, issued flat denials. Like Soviets denied that they had um, installed their missiles in Cuba. So this made the sense of shock when they were discovered by the US spy plane on October 1962, and that shocked the Americans, or especially the Kennedy administrations. Kennedy was stunned. Kennedy's response was like he was shocked to know about that. So he felt Khrushchev's conduct was inexplicably provocative. Khrushchev, in fact, had never considered that the presence of missiles in Cuba would be deemed a monstrous threat in the United States. Khrushchev thought that the Americans won't take this installation of missiles in Cuba in that serious way, which was actually taken by the Americans and Kennedy administrations. Nor had he realized that Kennedy and the United States would not tolerate the massive blow to their prestige that would result if the weapons were allowed to remain. So, in fact, the weapons would make very little difference to the strategic balance that was massively in the favor of America at that time, but their presence would give the appearance of a weakened America, and in the Cold War, appearances were very vital and they were given a lot of significance. So, for his part, Kennedy gave no thought to Khrushchev's motives, that were the missiles had to be removed, and initially he favored airstrikes and the invasion of Cuba to achieve this. Yet, the Bay of Pigs fiasco had taught Kennedy the dangers of acting impetuously. Within 2 days, he formed a special advisory group to weigh various options. This was named the Executive Committee of the National Security Council, and it was made up of hawks who favored the immediate use of force and doves who preferred to avoid a conflict, and they met almost continuously for 13 days and subjected proposal to resolve the crisis to intense scrutiny. So here we will talk about the first options Kennedy had. Like Kennedy's first option was to bomb the missile sites in Cuba, and this council, executive committee of the National Security Council, might have presented approval for this move to the president of that time, that was George F. Kennedy. So many of his military advisors thought that this was the best plan available and suggested that the Soviet Union would do nothing in response. But Kennedy, however, did not concur. He feared that any American action in Cuba would be met severely by the Soviet attack. So the first option which the Kennedy had to launch an attack to destroy the missile sites in Cuba, and this plan of action was heavily favored by the military planners and advisors of America, but Kennedy decided not to go for launching attack against the missile sites because he was of the opinion that he was quite sure that such a action by the Americans would be definitely met by a severe response by the Soviets. Now we will talk about the second option of Kennedy, and the second option of course would have been to do nothing at all and just borrow some time and see the developments, like how the situation unfolds. So to keep a closer look at the developments or to the ongoing affairs, uh, that was the second option, just to wait and do nothing at all. Allowing the Cubans to keep nuclear missiles within 100 miles of major United States cities would have challenged the calculus of Cold War activities, but we had our own missiles near the USSR and could have lived with the tension. Kennedy never really considered this option, though he claimed the greatest danger of all would be to do nothing. So the American administration second option was to do nothing because they had this opinion that if the Cuban missiles, the presence of the Soviet missiles in Cuba could be, balanced by the American missiles in Turkey, and there was the thinking that perhaps Soviet Union would not dare to launch attack against America as they are aware of the response that will be met by the Soviets in the shape of American response from Turkey to the Soviet Union at that time. So the second option was just to wait and watch and do nothing at all. And Kennedy never really considered this option, though, but he considered it the greatest danger of all would be to do nothing. So talking about the third option, which was eventually taken by the, or which would be opted by Kennedy, was the quarantine. Like it is an act of war to blockade another nation and to prevent trade from taking place. So the Kennedy administration actually used another word for blockade, as it was the case with Eisenhower's administration. So, and this blockade is considered an act of war to prevent trade from taking place. So Kennedy didn't call it a blockade, actually he called it a quarantine, Kennedy surrounded Cuba with American ships and dared the Soviet Union to try to run the blockade. The world waited anxiously to see what the Soviet Union Navy would do. So this was the third option which Kennedy administration had, and eventually it was taken by the Kennedy administration. Yet the Bay of Pigs had taught Kennedy the dangers of acting impetuously within 2 days. Yet there was the third option which was taken by the Kennedy administration. They considered it as an alternative to invasion. A naval blockade of Cuba, though President Roosevelt's term quarantine was preferred by Kennedy as it would be seen as less of a warlike act. So this would violate international law, of course, and while it would prevent new weapons arriving, might do little to remove those already on Cuba. But it was a limited and measured response which would avoid forcing Khrushchev into a corner where he had to fight to avoid utter humiliation. If it failed, the military option was still open. So Kennedy administration thought that perhaps this quarantine or the blockade was the best possible solution available for them, as it might, because of the blockade of transportation, cause the Soviet Union to remove their already installations of missiles in Cuba, and the Kennedy administration thought that this was the best possible situation. This was the best possible option for the Americans to go for at that time. So only on the 22nd of October, when the blockade was prepared, the news of the missiles and America's response was made public. It caused immense shock in the USA and internationally, as it was expected to drown out the Soviet response that they were acting legally and responding to in kind to the US actions in Turkey. Khrushchev's reply was to bluster that the USSR would assert its right on the high seas and to accuse Kennedy of bringing the world to the brink of a nuclear catastrophe. So throughout the world, forces went on high alert. World War III seemed imminent, and across the globe, terrified people prepared for Armageddon. On 23rd of October, as 27 Soviet ships headed towards the blockade, many carrying military equipment, presumably including missile parts, Kennedy, who had assumed that Khrushchev would back down, had to consider what to do if the blockade was fired. As the world stood on the brink of nuclear war, news reached Kennedy that the first Soviet ships had stopped and turned back. So the Soviet Union decided to turn their ships away, and the fear of a nuclear catastrophe was pacified or was getting less intense. Now, I would like to talk about the confrontation which was there between the USSR and US representative in the United Nations. Former presidential candidate Lyle Stevenson in the United Nations asked the Soviet representative Zorin whether or not the USSR had placed missiles in Cuba. When Zorin refused to answer, Stevenson famously replied, "All right, sir, let me ask you one simple question. Do you, Ambassador Zorin, deny that the USSR has placed and is placing medium and intermediate range missiles and sites in Cuba? Yes or no, please. Don't wait for the translation. Yes or no." Still no answer from Zorin. Stevenson continued, "You can answer yes or no. You have denied they exist. I want to know if I understood you correctly. I am prepared to wait for my answer until he freezes over, if that's your decision." So the USSR representative denied that flatly that the USSR had placed or installed missiles in Cuba because it was a hidden fact at that time, and eventually the American U-2 spy plane discovered some of the sites of missiles installation in Cuba. And finally, the American spy plane was shot down over Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis. While Americans waited for a response, an American spy plane was shot down over Cuba. Once again, military leaders pressed Kennedy for an immediate and strong response, that is, invasion, retaliatory bombing, or direct conflict with Soviet forces. But Kennedy refused to act in haste. The tension between the Soviet Union and the United States mounted. Kennedy went on to the airwaves to speak to the American people on television, and Kennedy that was the occasion when he delivered his most famous television address on the Cuban Missile Crisis. Kennedy announced the blockade of Cuba to the United States and the world in a public television address on October of 1962. The Soviet Union, not wanting to heighten the tension even more or to bring on conflict, chose to turn their ships around on the open seas. Eventually, Khrushchev and Kennedy would work out an agreement to resolve the crisis without any further anxiety. So that is all about today's discussion, and in our next lecture we will finally conclude our discussion about Cuban Missile Crisis, that how the crisis got resolved between the Soviet Union and the United States of America. And we will talk about what lessons have been learned from this unusual episode of conflict between the two superpowers of that time. And if you have any queries, please write me in WhatsApp group, and I will try my best to address your queries. So that is all for this week's lecture, and wish you good luck, and wish all of you stay safe and healthy. and see you inshallah next week for our upcoming lectures. That would be a final discussion about the humanism crisis. So until then, wish you best of luck and Allah Hafiz.